my name is Einar. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an account manager at 50 Skills. And
I'm Christine. I'm VP of Business Development at 50 Skills.
And so as a lot of you know, we've been working on this new solution called Journeys, and we've had a lot of interest. So we thought, you know what, let's just introduce it to everyone because we want to make sure that everyone can see it. And what we've prepared today is just kind of an introduction of what is Journeys, why did we create Journeys, and then we'll go through kind of creating a journey together, just to kind of show you how easy it is. And as I mentioned, if you do have any questions, we will be stopping at certain intervals to take questions. And like I said, online, just type them in the Q&A and we'll take it. So Christine's going to start with kind of going through kind of what journeys are. And I might jump in a little bit intermittently. But yes, if you want to take it away. Wait, are you recording? I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, yeah. So I'm going to talk about Journeys. Like Einar mentioned, our new product to help you automate your HR processes and create great employee experiences. So why are we doing Journeys? Why did we build it? Last year, we mapped out countless of HR processes with our customers or HR managers to understand how the processes are today and what can be improved. And as you all know, and we realized very soon, it's not a linear process of a few tasks. It often looks much more like this. And this is a real photo, just a real example of a process that we mapped out, just with the blurred things that stood there. So we were thinking, like, what are the problems with these processes today? Well, often they involve a lot of repetitive manual entry into systems. So you're getting information from email, you're copy pasting it somewhere else, or you're copy pasting them between systems, which takes a lot of time. There's a lot of back and forth communication, often in an email, and you're sending out an email requesting some information, and you're receiving some of it back. You need to send out another email to request it again, and so on. And this takes a lot of time. There is a lot of time-consuming paperwork. Often there's a Word document that you need to find. You need to replace the text in these documents. You need to send them to e-signing. You need to download them and upload them again into your documentation system, and so on. And everyone complained about the poor status overview, where you're lacking the overview of, like, where is everyone in this process, whether it's an onboarding process, offboarding process, any other process that you have. So most HR departments try to solve this with an Excel spreadsheet, but of course it's not automatically updated. So there's a lot of work trying to maintain the correct status of everyone. And then another important thing is that important information is often forgotten to be shared or sent into systems. So you have, for example, the payroll department wasn't aware that this employee was starting, and now you need to pay their salary, or they're quitting and you forgot to cancel their phone subscription, or things like that. So to sum it up, it's time consuming, it's prone to errors, it's demotivating for the employees, and it's reducing the HR team's satisfaction. But the good thing is that there is a solution to it, and we're building it. To automate those things and give you the overview that you've always wanted. Because today's HR managers, they do recognize the efficiency and productivity benefits of automation. And with Journeys, you can automate your people processes without the constant support. We built the system for HR managers and for people in HR to be able to automate their processes without an IT background or without an IT employee assisting them. So how does it work? First, you can map up your process. You can build it out just this is our interface. And here we're building out a process with placeholders, as we call it. It's just to map up how your process should look like. And that's usually the first step. You map up your current process. You think of, like, how should this be done differently? And you can map up your dream scenario. Like, this is the way that I want my onboarding process to be, or my offboarding or parental leave process to be. And then the next thing you do, you replace those placeholders with automations. So you can add, for example, a form where you request information. And then you can use this information that you receive in the form later on in the process. So you never need to type same information twice. This information that you receive from the form can go directly into your systems, the other systems that you use, go into an email or a text message or wherever you want it to go. And then you can also add, for example, actions like a wait for action, where you wait until like the last workday or a week before their first workday. You want some things to happen. So you can set that up yourselves, or you can have, for example, conditional logic, like we're adding here, where it will show you better later on. But you can add like a condition, for example, if the person is leaving by choice, you want to have a farewell party. If they're terminated by the company, then you're not going to have a farewell party. So you can do those and set these up in your process. And maybe the most important thing is that you can add integrations on your own, and they turn into actions. So you can have, if you have an IT person in your company, usually they would set this up for you, and they can do this quite quickly, or we can assist with that. And you can even, some of you could do it yourselves as well. Einar here doesn't have any technical background, and he just used ChatGPT to build the integration. Just asked ChatGPT, how do I do this? And it guided him through it. So we want to say that anyone can build it, but we recommend if you have a technical person that they build this integration once, and after that you can use it in any process that you are building. And then you add the traveler. Here we call them traveler, the people who go through a journey, whether it's an onboarding or offboarding or yeah, someone going on a process. So you can add them into the journey, and then you get an overview of what is the status of this person in the journey. You'll see later that the actions become green once they've completed, and they're white while they haven't been completed. So you get the overview here. You can also build personalized experiences. It's not just about the productivity, which is the thing that we often mostly think about it, but it's also about creating personal experiences. You can send text messages to get the information. Or send text messages like, hey, we can't wait to see you in 2 days or 2 weeks or something like that. Those messages that you never have time to do. You really want to welcome the person on the first day from the HR team, like, hey, if you have any questions, you can always come to me. But you never have time to do that for every single employee or to remember that someone is starting today. So you can have that automated. What are the most common use cases? Of course, it's onboarding. That has been our focus, and that's the origin of this product. But it's also very popular for the cross-boarding, when people move within the company between positions, because that's often very similar to an onboarding process. Because you probably need to sign a new contract, you need to update the systems, and maybe the employee needs some new training. And then also an offboarding process for offboarding processes. And we'll talk about that more later. But the possibilities are endless. So you can just build out any journey that you want. And we've seen people build out the Christmas gift selection journey, where you choose the journey, or like allocate a new buddy for an employee. So you can set up any process that you have. And we have templates on our website that you can use to get you more quickly up and running. But you can also build from scratch your own processes. Just to sum it up, why do you need journeys? Or why did we make journeys? It was to save energy, time, and money, to increase the retention and enhance performance within your company. Now, the fun thing is that you've all been through a 50 skills journey, or at least everyone who signed up for this event. So let's take a look at that journey. Let me see. So I'm not going to open everyone in the journey. I'm just going to open myself. So you can see here that Christine, she went through this journey, and this is the journey that we recreated.
So just to add, so when you did sign up for the event, that's when you got added as a traveler. So you saw earlier that Christine, she went in and she added a traveler. But when you signed up for the form, it actually then created you in here, and that's what's kickstarted the journey. Just to add here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So when you signed up for the event, you started this journey. And the first thing we did on the journey, we posted the information on the Slack, on our Slack channel, just to pep inform us that, you know, Kristin is going to be here in person, so to get us excited to meet you. And then there was an if competition. So you can see here, there's a path going on if the attendee is going to be in person, and then there's a different actions that will happen if the attendee is going to be online. So because I chose to be in person, I got a form here, and I can view the form. I don't know if some of you opened the form, where you could choose like what are you most interested in automating, just to help us understand what we should talk about today. And you could choose the breakfast as well. And then we added that to our database, just to summarize to be able to summarize the data. And you could also, if you're building out a journey and you're using something like Power BI or something, you can always add the data there. You also got a meeting invite, which was automatic. So it's I'm using here an integration with my calendar, which created a meeting invite for us to that you received. And then I had some wait for actions. So for example, yesterday you got an email that's saying, I'll see you tomorrow, here's some car parking. And then this morning you got a text message, I'll see you soon, and then some information about where we're located. And for the ones who were online, it was quite similar, but it has like the meeting invite had a meeting link and so on. So it was a little bit different. And then you can see here, this action hasn't been completed because that will happen. This action will run today at 1 p.m. You'll get another form with a feedback. So if you can start thinking about the feedback now. So this is how I can get an overview of the people who are going through a journey. But what we want to do today, because based on the, like I mentioned, we asked here, like, what processes are you mostly interested in automating? And the results were that most people were interested in the offboarding and the onboarding. So we decided to do one of these processes just today from scratch. So we're going to build an offboarding process now to show you how easy it is to build up a process that you can start using and start automating things at your company right now. And with me, I have Einar, because it's really hard to type out things and, and talk at the same time. So Einar is going to moderate this, and I'm going to build out the journey at the same time.
Maybe before we jump into it, I don't know if anyone has any questions or like anything they want to, something that's unclear. Yeah, I can see, yeah, someone online is asking about like what kind of, we'll go through later what kind of journeys like we would recommend. It's very classic to do the onboarding, offboarding, crossboarding, but we'll show you a list. So we started with those three processes, but as we've talked to customers, they have ideas and things that kind of we've been surprised by. So we'll go through that list at the end of it to address that. But okay, so here we start with a blank page of creating a journey. And let's just imagine me and Kristin, we're on the HR team. We've kind of had a quick chat. Okay, what do we want in the journey? Which is usually what you start with. And then we start building it off with what we call the placeholders. So that's just where it's just text, but then you can replace the placeholders with an action, which could be a form. So for example, the first thing we want to do is, of course, send a form to collect when is the last work day, you know, why are they leaving? And then maybe we want to send an email once the form is filled out, just to notify the payroll and everyone, hey, this person is leaving on this date. Once we've added that, we maybe want to add a branch so that multiple things happen at the same time. And this is where we might want to add like a condition, like we mentioned earlier. If the person is resigning, maybe we want just to check with the manager, do you want to schedule a farewell party? So then there might be a form which would send that out. Then we might want to notify the phone company that we want to cancel the subscription. So as Kristin mentioned earlier, like one of the things that we want to kind of remove is the repetitive, like manual tasks. And I don't know, you guys probably have experienced this. Like I've even experienced it in my job that if we need to notify someone, we go into the sent folder, we find the same email we sent last time, just change the information with the name and all of it. But this way you can actually just set up the email and it personalizes it with the information from the journey. And then on the last workday, we might want to have some actions pop up, like a reminder. Again, you probably know this, but it's crazy how often we forget, like, oh, wait, it's this person's last day. We forgot to do this, or oh, let's make sure to say goodbye to them. But this way you don't have to remember, you get an automatic reminder. And then we might want to send out a form to the IT department or the manager to confirm that they've returned all the equipment. And this can be both like a form, or you could use the integrations. So a lot of customers use either Jira for like ticketing requests, or they use Asana for like task management. So you could then connect to that system and then just automatically kick off that process. And maybe the last one would be to remove access to systems. And this could also be done in like an integration. So now we've created this kind of process, we've mapped it up. And let's just imagine we have nothing set up. So the first thing we want to do is to create this form. So we'll show you now how the form builder works, and we'll just make like a simple offboarding form. And obviously in the offboarding, we want to collect information like, did they decide to leave, or are we letting them go? So we'll of course ask about that. And the way we've set up the form builder, as Kristin mentioned, we wanted this to be very user-friendly. Like anyone should be able to go in and create the forms. And you can see on the left-hand side kind of the type of content you can add. So you can, of course, add images or videos if you do want to kind of personalize it or make it more like the brand of your business. There's also what we call input fields. And this is where you could like collect information with like short text or like a date. So obviously we'll add into the form when is the last work day, because that's quite important for the process. And it's the same with file uploads, or if there's a phone number field, then the phone number, it could be used later on in a text if you don't know their number. And then you can see at the bottom, there's also like multiple choice, single choice, and drop down. And that's where you could ask something like, what's the reason that they're leaving? And you can both add an option like Kristin's going to do now. She's going to write in, but you can see below it says predefined lists. So a lot of you probably have lists that you might want to like use again and again and again. Maybe not in this case, but like in departments, for example, if it's an onboarding form, or if they're leaving, what department are they in? Instead of having to always, rewrite it or like remake the lists, you could just use the predefined lists. And then if we add here the long text, we might want to ask like, please detail a bit more why they're leaving. And then maybe for the date, last work day. And then finally, we'll do a file upload, which would be like the resignation letter. So if they resigned, we want to get like a confirmation of the resignation. And what we'll add here is, you can see on the top right, we have what we call conditions. So in the condition, that's where you could say, if it's the employee who is leaving, that's when we want to have this pop up. So the field won't appear unless it's a resignation. So if we go like preview the form, we can fill it out any way we want. And you can see the resignation letter is actually visible now because we said the employee is leaving. But if we choose employer, it is not visible. So you could build it out. Obviously, we're just using one condition format, but you could have whole sections in the form which only appear. So if you would want to have a whole section of questions if they resign, and a whole different section of questions if they were terminated, then you could have it like quite long-winded and very, very detailed. But for the sake of this, we'll call this good and replace the placeholder now. And as we mentioned earlier, like the idea is we wanted to like show you like an offboarding process that you should be able to, if you log into the system for the first time, you would be able to actually set up a process like this and actually automate a lot of the tasks that you do in your offboarding. So if we add here, we go into the input form. So now we've replaced the placeholder, find the form that we just made, preview it to make sure that it is like we want it to be. And then we can choose, how we want to send it out. It can be sent both via email and a text. And you can see like the blue things on the right side. This is what we call tokens. And this is information that we have in the process that you can then use to personalize it, as I mentioned earlier. So in this case, we're going to send it to the supervisor. And then you can see like, oh, traveler full name has started the offboarding process. So it's going to look like you manually wrote it. So so it's going to be very personalized and exactly the information that you want. And then you do have automatic reminders. So, people don't always fill out the forms, as you probably know. So we want to make sure that if they don't fill it out, that we remind them. You can choose like one day after sending it sent out, and then you can repeat the reminders. If you wanted to get a reminder every day for a year, maybe that's a bit much, but you could do that if you're very persistent. And then, of course, we might want to send an email to the HR and payroll. And as you saw earlier, we added like the supervisor email. But what's very cool is you can also just manually type in an email. So if it's like just a general thing like HR at 50 skills or payroll at 50 skills, then it's very nice that you don't always have to like map it somewhere. You can just type it up, and this can be used then for external emails as well. So like which we'll show you later when we're looking at kind of the canceling of the internet provider. Yeah, and then you can personalize the email in, as I mentioned, like for example, reason for departure. We can then pull that from the form. So yeah, so in the next one, we'll maybe pause for a second. Yeah, if you go ahead, we'll pause for a second in the next one with the tokens. But you can see now that there's like a send form, which wasn't earlier when we were obviously sending the email about the form. But the further we go down in the journey, all the forms that we add and all the kind of emails and information, it just kind of creates this wealth of information that we have that we can then distribute further down in the process. So this way, everything you collect can be reused. So if we add now like the last work day, we want that in the email. And then maybe if they're resigned, we want to add the email attachment, which would be then the resignation letter. All right. Now we might want to add a condition. So like in this case, if they resigned, there can be multiple conditions. So in this case, we'll just use like a single condition that they resigned. But you can have more than one element to kind of kickstart this. So it could be all of them have to match, or like only one of these have to match, and then it triggers the next action, which in this case we'll just use like a checkbox form to ask the manager to organize a farewell party if the person resigns. So we'll just use like a checkbox, and then we'll preview it, because earlier we made a really complicated form, but it could be something like as simple as this. The only option is confirm, and then you kickstart it. With the phone and internet subscription, as I mentioned earlier, there might be external emails that always look the same. You always write it the same way. In this case, let's just say that the phone company we have is Vodafone, and then we just want to send an email just to let them know, hey, this person is leaving our company, and please deactivate their phone subscription. And in this case, like I said, a lot of manual email, you don't have to always remember, oh, I need to email Vodafone. I have to email like the parking company and all of this. Like a lot of our customers, they have like 5 or 6 external vendors that they have to email every time. So I'm sure a lot of headaches removed. And for the final branch, let's just add here, we're going to wait until a certain date, which in this case is the last work day. This could also be like a birthday, if you want to send somebody a text on their birthday in another journey, or like the first work day. So any dates that you collect, you could use that as kind of the reference point. And then on the last work day, we want to send like an email reminder. We want to confirm that all the equipment has been returned. And then we'll show you also with like the integration, what that can look like to remove somebody from a system. So as Christian mentioned earlier, like I tried to build an integration. I'm not at all qualified to do that. But by using ChatGPT, I was just like, okay, I want to try this. Here's the options that I have. What should I add? And what I built, if we maybe just go to the remove access from all systems. So I just made an integration with Illumi, which is like a learning management system. And you can see that there's both an action to create a user, which you could use in like the onboarding. And there's also a way to delete the user. So this way, if we want to just automatically have them deleted, we would of course need the user ID, which could just be filled out in a form, but then it would actually remove the user from the systems they shouldn't have access to anymore. Yes. So yeah, maybe if we just add the checkbox form there, and we'll allow the one placeholder to remain, because we're not going to set up all these different integrations. But you can just think of the systems that you use that you could actually use an integration to automatically remove and add people to systems. All right. So as you can see, we've now created like an offboarding process, which I'm sure in some cases you could actually use just already for most cases, because it's a very like straightforward one. But if we just think of all the actions we've added 3 forms, there's 3 emails, and then there's also the wait action. Like, I don't know if we can put like time on the mental load of remembering everything, but this is easily, I think, like 2 hours that you would spend on this, right? Maybe I don't know, maybe somebody can disagree. Like usually you would spend maybe 2 hours on actually figuring the information back and forth. Maybe it would be 3 hours. But now that we have this journey, it literally is going to be start the journey. Don't think about it anymore until you get prompted. So Yes, I don't know, Krista, if you want to add something to this.
Maybe just to add with the placeholder here, to remove access to systems. This can also be, for example, IT teams, they're very fond of removing the access to AD, so you can't log into your emails and stuff like that. This is usually a request to IT to do this, but this can be automated as well. But if you don't want to remove the access automatically, you can also have integrations with your task management system, whether it's Jira or Asana or something like that, to make an automatic request to IT to remove access from someone. I also know that a lot of people don't like to work on, like, let's say if IT department chooses to use Jira, but for everyone else, it's like hard to learn how to use it, but then you never have to log into Jira. You can automatically create a ticket and monitor when it has been resolved.
Yeah, cool. All right, we do have one question online in regards to the forms. If we can translate the forms. So for example, if you create a form in both Icelandic and English, can you flip between? So this is where the conditions can come in. You could both have, if you create the form in English and Icelandic, then somewhere along the way you just choose when you create them, are they English speaking, Icelandic speaking, or any other language? And then you could have the form based on that and the journey. Or of course, I'm guessing you could use conditions as well, but I'd probably go the other route, to be honest. But there's not like a native way to have a drop down of like 1,000 languages. At least not yet. I'm not going to make any promises, but we do have the VP of product here, so I will make a lot of promises today. No. Cool. Any questions or thoughts about this? I don't know if anyone thinks like maybe there's something you're wondering, hey, if I was building an offboarding, I would want to add this, or maybe you feel like you're wondering if something is possible. Any questions online?
Branching in the forms. What I'm wondering, if you choose like the offboarding, if the employee chooses to leave, obviously there would be different questions to the manager than if the employer, or would that need a separate step in the?
Yeah,
Great question. So just the question was if we could branch in the forms. So if the person resigned, so sorry, I'm just repeating for online. If the person resigned, could there be a whole different set of questions than if they were let go?
Yeah, there are a few ways to do this. One way would be to have a different journey for the people who are departing like voluntarily and involuntarily. But you could also do the conditions in forms, like I mentioned like you saw earlier when I chose. Let's look at this form here. So you could have like who is terminating the employee, and I choose the employee, then I get this resignation letter. So you could have different questions appearing depending on how the termination is.
Would they be in that form or in another form? Like the reason for departure, would that change, or would that be the same as a different part?
I'm not sure I understand.
Sorry, can you expand a bit more?
Yes. Like Microsoft Forms, if you use branching there and you choose reason or who decided that the employer would leave, then it would open up. If you jump over, the next two and go directly to the.
Yes,
exactly. You could do that.
Yeah.
So I could, for example, if I change this form, I could decide that this should not be shown if this is if this is if something is chosen here. So I can skip the questions in between as well with the conditions.
Yeah, and maybe if you click on add, there's one thing we didn't go through in the add section. So there is one thing also called section in the structure. So then you could put like a bulk of fields into a section and then choose a condition for the whole section. This section only appears if they resigned, and then there's just a whole different one if they were let go. Yes, we do have one question online as well. Somebody's asking just in terms of the cost, if it's different, if they're currently a 50 skills customer. So this is a different product from our hiring product. So there is like a different cost to this than there would be to the hiring solution. But we'll maybe touch on that also towards the end in terms of where you can approach the pricing. Yes, any other questions out here before? Yes.
Interesting. Because I have a lot of employees in New Zealand, and regarding the onboarding form that you currently have, I'm having a trouble with my people actually using it. So I'm wondering, are there some kind of hidden trash filters that we're not aware of that is stopping them from actually receiving the link, because all the other Icelandic companies, they don't have any problems with accessing, you know, the link from Thekking and Elmis and other companies. So I'm just wondering,
I
is
think
there something with 50 skills?
one thing that is worth a mention, that if you're using the onboarding and 50 skills and the higher product that we use, the emails are sent from our domain, so they're sent from 50 skills. But what you can do actually here, you can set up your own email, so the email is sent from your, like from HR at from your HR email address. So that also should improve this. But like we mentioned as well, if you're sending out a form, that, for example, the form to request necessary information for contract and payroll, we would also recommend to send it as a text message, and it also works in New Zealand. It works all around the world. So that also makes sure that if people are not monitoring their emails, or maybe it went into their junk email by any chance, then they get the text message with the link as well to fill out the form.
Yeah.
Ask about the integrations. Is that list of integrations that you have? Is that stuff that is pre-built by you, or can customers add their own?
Yeah. So all the integration is something we've just added. So we have a very simple integration builder, and this actually also answers a question we have online. Somebody's asking about product solutions that weren't in the list. So you can actually just go in and add any integration that you want, provided that the other solution has an open API, which most solutions today do. And then it's just very easy to authenticate it, and you can add the endpoints as well. And that's where you can choose the action. So it's anything you use today that allows you to connect to it. You can connect, and you can then, both post into it, get information, or, like as we mentioned earlier as well, if you need to delete or something like that. Yeah. And
one more.
Yeah.
Do you plan on having some pre-built integrations?
Yeah, we do. So they will come soon.
yes, Georg. They will. Yes, yeah. So this also answers online. Somebody was asking with some of the solutions they have now, if you can add a traveler and 50 skills to add them. Maybe we can show an example of an onboarding. So in this demo, so I mentioned earlier, you can see the list. We have like onboarding, offboarding, parental leave, sick leave. Like a lot of this is inspired from conversations we've had with people, because we started with these really complicated, long processes. But even just automating birthday messages, where there's only two actions. Wait for birthday, send SMS. But it's going to be a very nice experience to get a text on your birthday. Just don't tell them it's a journey. Then they'll feel like it's not as personal. I don't know if you felt a bit betrayed when you realized that all the communication from us for this event was fully automated. But if we take this journey here, for example, if you scroll a bit down, you can see we have like a list of integrations where you could like create an employee in, here we have like Personio, send a message, create a user in Illumi, create an issue in Jira. So you could just have like a list of all the solutions that you want to add them into, and then just have that automatically kick off. Maybe since we're in the onboarding, one action we didn't talk about is the create document. So this could also be relevant in an offboarding if you have like a document they have to sign when they're leaving, or if they've been let go. Then you could add your templates in here. And we have a very ugly contract in there, so I apologize, but it does the job. But you can see here we have like these fields that just automatically get filled out. And this is the same as with the integrations and all the other stuff. You just use the tokens to fill in all the fields on the contract. And this could be the same as well with, if they're leaving, or like if you have a certification, you could add their name on there to personalize it. And then do an integration. We have an integration here with GetAccept, but you could integrate it with any, most modern e-signature tools to send that. Yeah.
Can I ask, can you access restrict, like for different users, what integration or data they can access? Like this is very capable for HR processes, but also, for example, like a database, which you might want to delegate to an office admin or something, but you might not want them to access like their HR data sensitive stuff.
Yeah, great question. So currently it would be that like everyone you add is an admin, but it is something we're working on, is to make a bit more restrictions. We're still just kind of mapping out, I think, how restrictive it could be, if it should be down to the action you can restrict, but we are working on kind of the user restrictions. Yes.
We have one question there.
One thing I've been looking for in the videos, but not been able to find, adding a traveler to the journey. What are the ways now until the integrations?
Yeah. Currently, you could have a list of travelers here. So you could upload the list of your employees. For example, we just have two here, but this could be a list from your system. And we are also building an integration so you can have it automatically received from your HR system. So that is one way. So if I have a journey here, like an onboarding journey, and I'm going to add a person to a journey, I have them here. I can just search for Kristen. Okay. Or if it was an offboarding journey, and add the person.
If you do
about you have to put in all the information about each traveler, because we already have that information in other systems
yeah, you could import it as well. So if you can like get it into, you can import it via like here we have via CSV or like Excel, and we do have a template that you can have. With regards to the information you want to have about them, there are things we call attributes. So you can choose what sort of information you want to store in the system about them. Yes. Any other questions out here? Yes, sorry, the question was, how do they import travelers? Sorry, I forgot to repeat the question. Yeah, but that's currently the way. But we are working also on an integration with our current hiring system. But we also do have an API as well that you should be able to create people through.
Okay.
Yes. So, sorry, one question online. Is it possible to have different onboarding and offboarding journeys depending on job titles? That is, can the job title trigger different journeys? This is also a great question. So this is in the beginning, you could both have a specific journey for it, or you could build one journey where you have conditions. So based on the title, this happens, or based on the title, this happens. Yeah, which might be simpler. It depends on the complexity if you want to have like specific journeys for each of them. But there's no limit as to how many onboarding journeys you can create or how many offboarding journeys you can create. You could have multiple. Yeah, the conditions might be good as well if it's just, if you mark in the onboarding form that this is a supervisor, then this triggers. Or, if they work in the office, this happens. If they're not in the office, this happens. Yeah, but that's the beauty of it, right? Like you saw earlier with the post-it notes, there's a lot of branches that always come out with, if this happens, then this. But that's why we've added like the conditions and also kind of the wait until dates, because there's a lot of things that you trigger on certain dates. Great. Any other questions or any like journeys somebody's wondering if somebody has tried to solve, or something you're thinking of you would like to solve but you haven't seen it yet?
Or would like to view?
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned the connection between your recruiting system and journeys. Is it possible to just automatically start a journey when you onboard a person in the recruiting?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, so the question is for customers today who you have our hiring solution, could you kickstart a journey from the current hiring solution? So you can't do it today, but it is something that's kind of high priority right now that is being worked on. So it's being like mapped out kind of how exactly it should work. And I'm pressing Georg every day to get it done. But it is high priority now too. So like today, when you do hire, you can add them to the onboarding. The idea is just that from there, you could then add them to a journey.
And have all the attachment and everything flow into the other systems as well. That will happen.
And then, of course, if you don't have, our hiring solution, like you might have like another ATS, we are also working on how we should make that easier for people that just want to use journeys, but use something else for hiring new employees. Perfect. Yeah, if there's not any other questions, if you do have questions, we will now give you details to send us. Yes.
One more question.
Yeah, of course.
How do you see all the journeys that are ongoing?
Yeah.
Great question. So the question is how we see all the journeys that are ongoing. Obviously, in this demo account, you can see there's a lot of zeros. In a live environment, you would probably have way more. You can see how many people are in progress. You can see how many have completed the journey. And then if you would, for example, open the onboarding, you can then see exactly where people are in the process. And as Kristin covered earlier, when she showed her in the journey, if you click on the user, you can then see what the journey looks like that they're going through. One thing that is important to note, let's say, because this is quite a comprehensive journey. Let's say that you now decide, we don't want to use this template for contracts, or we don't want to create them in this system. It's very easy to then actually go and edit the journey, but obviously everyone who's already in it won't be affected, but then you could change it for future journeys without disrupting the people already going through the process. But that's why it's good to be able to click on the person to also see what their journey looks like. But yes, does that answer the question? Yeah, perfect.
Two questions. Can you trigger a journey from your API, and can you trigger a journey from another journey?
Yeah, so there were two questions. Can we trigger a journey from an API, and can we trigger a journey from another journey? Yes, Kristin, I think you're...
exactly. Here, under in the settings, you can get access to the API. So you can just create an API keys, and we have the documentation here. So yeah, you can create from your system, create the user, and you can also create the custom integration with journeys yourself. So you could create you could start the journey, another journey from one journey. So for example, a lot of people would have maybe a pre-boarding as one journey, and so which is pre-boarding, all the things you need to do before the person starts, and then after that process is completed, then you send them to the onboarding journey. So it could be two different journeys going on. Or depending on some condition, you would add them to another journey and run that. Okay. That can be done via the API.
Yeah, we have one question online as well. Can you do like a check in the box after you do certain activity that is required, or can you only send messages about activities needed? So, you could, like, as we showed you earlier, there was like a form where you just do confirm. We do have a few that do that, or just when they've done the activity, they just do confirm. And then from that, there could be an email that sends out to someone, or if you just want to get the overview, you can also see in the overview that we did earlier. Yes, but we don't, with the form, just to clarify, it's not like a checkbox where you check two boxes, you leave, then you come back and it's still checked because it's a form. But that's why the reminder functionality is so good. So if it's like you have to finish all these 4 things, then you could just have reminders every 2 days or however time constrictive it is. And then when the person is done, they can then check off that they've done these activities, if it's not something that can be checked in another system. Yes, sorry.
Question?
Yeah, sorry, more online. Sorry, I always have to scroll down. It's not that native. Is there a task board, for example? Can you quickly view all employees who are missing a contract, all waiting for a computer, etc.? Yes, this is a good question. So we're currently working on a filtering where you can actually filter out, like if you use our solution today, you could filter out like what's missing. So you can see like all the things there. We're working on a way for you just to be able to exactly filter out a specific action who has not completed this action or who is waiting on this action would probably be the better one. So yeah, so it's in the works.
Exactly. Okay.
Yes. All right. So if you do have any more questions, I don't know how we are doing for time.
Yeah.
If you do have any more questions, we're always happy to take them. And I don't know if you want to
I'm just gonna
jump to the next
just
one.
the end.
Yes.
So if you're interested in further discussions, the ones who are in person can always talk to us now or later, or reach out. And if you're online, just reach out. You can book a meeting on our website or just message us, me and Einar. And we'd be happy to look at how journeys could solve your pain points.
Yes. So I think that's probably it. Thank you everyone who joined us online and everyone who came in person. We hope this kind of gave you a really good understanding of what Journeys is and kind of the possibilities. Please let us know if you have any questions. And yes, I guess
you'll get a form at 2 p.m.
Yes, so please let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.